Hey there, you're listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. My name's Matt Wakeling from Sydney, Australia, and thank you so much for joining me today. Now, this is our first show for 2018, and it is great to be back. Today we speak to Craig Garber, who hosts a fantastic guitar podcast, Everyone Loves Guitar. Craig is based in Florida, and we'll get to that conversation very soon. Before that, though, I just want to let you know we've got some great interviews coming up with artists such as Jack Jones, Chris Kamzalos, Nikki Stringfield, Ian Cook from V-Trem Guitars, and Joel Hoekstra, who, of course, is currently playing with Whitesnake, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, many other artists. So it's great to talk to Joel, and I'm really looking forward to bringing that and all of those interviews to you over the next few weeks. So stay subscribed or get subscribed to us at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from. All right, on to my conversation with Craig Garber. Now, Craig, as I said, hails from Florida in the US, and last year started a podcast, Everyone Loves Guitar. Now, through an incredible work ethic and drive, Craig has already put over 150 episodes up, and it's not as if he's just splattered them up there. They're actually excellent podcasts, excellent interviews, and Craig brings a really interesting perspective and background through his own business career and the passion for music. So it's a pretty cool combination, and I've enjoyed a lot of those episodes myself. So last couple I've listened to have been with John Bollinger from Premier Guitar and lots of gigs in Nashville, and Jennifer Batten, who of course rose to prominence playing with Michael Jackson and Jeff Beck and doing her own incredible solo stuff. So really cool interviews. There's a bunch of others as well. So Craig got in touch with me last year, and we ended up having a Skype call and just had a great conversation about podcasting and each other's shows and getting to know each other a little. So we decided to interview each other for a future episode. So we ended up doing that just at the end of 2017. And yeah, great to catch up and just back and forth a little bit about podcasting. So it's a different kind of a show today, but I hope you really enjoy it. All right, let's just go to it. Here's my conversation with Craig Garber of Everyone Loves Guitar.
Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and we have a really different episode today. I'm with Matt Wakeling, who hosts the Guitar Speak podcast. Matt's out of Sydney, Australia, and Matt and I just wanted to kind of interview each other and get to know each other a little bit, because we both do guitar podcasts and we want to turn our audiences on to each other's show. So Matt, thank you so much for spending time with me here today. We had a tough time coordinating this. He's 15 hours ahead of me.
Good to be with you, Craig. Always good to catch up. It was nice to get your call.
Likewise, man. So we're going to fumble our way through this as best we can, so bear with it. But Matt's got a great show. He's a super nice guy, and I really enjoyed listening to it. I just wanted to let you guys know that and hope you guys will listen to it as well. That being said, Matt, tell everybody about your podcast.
Okay. Well, yeah, the Guitar Speak podcast started in April 2016. It really sprung out of the fact that guitar's been a huge part of my life since I was around 11 years old. I started playing, so super into guitar and guitar players, and also been a fan of podcasts. So I listen to enough podcasts and I've spent enough time around music to think, you know what, there's probably a bunch of people in Australia that I'd love to talk about their guitar stories, and eventually that moved into overseas artists as well. So we were out mostly weekly. It's not every single week, but I aim for a weekly show, and it's an interview, and often long form, but depends on the availability of the artists. But yeah, it's been going for about 20 months, having a good time doing it. It's been great.
Do you find that most people that you interview are open to doing a longer show and just like chilling out, or are they like regimented? And
it depends. Mostly I go for a long show, which I really enjoy. I like having the time to really dig into a lot of different areas in detail if the artist is up for it. Over the last half of last year, I started hooking up with some PR companies here in Australia. So they will have a different agenda. They'll say, listen, we've got Dweezil Zappa. There's a 20-minute phone interview. Do you want to take that? And of course, I'll say yeah. So I've been doing a bunch of shorter interviews lately, but that's always initiated by my contact with a PR company. And to be honest, that's been a lot of fun as well. Like, if you've got 20 minutes, it really makes you think, well, what do I really want to ask this artist? What's the what's the nuts and bolts of it. So to be honest, I've quite enjoyed the short interviews as well, but given my choice, I'll spend a long time talking to someone if they've got the time.
Yeah, obviously. It's funny because, and if you're a PR person listening to this, please take heed. So I've had contact with about 8 to 10 PR people,
Mm-hmm.
and 4 out of 5 of them do this. They are introduced to me usually by their own artist who says, hey, I want to do your show, but you got to talk to this person.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah.
The PR person comes on, hey, Craig, it's really great to meet you. And they have all this enthusiasm. And in fact, which one of my artists are you interested in? And they'll send me a portfolio or list of maybe like 50 names.
Okay.
So I'll take the time and I'll go through these names and I'll send it back. Hey, thank you for the opportunity. I'd love to talk to these 7 people or whoever, 10 people, whatever, right? That's it. Then they literally will never, ever follow up again. And it's just like, so if you're a PR person and you actually get interviews for your artist, I want to salute you because you're in the top, 20+% of people that actually do your job. And it's the weirdest thing. I don't know why. And it's just so bizarre. Like, and I don't mean to sound negative, but it's like, the thing that many years ago, I used to write a marketing newsletter, and my wife made up a list of things. And she said, top 10 things to aggravate Craig. And she wrote number 1, waste his time. And then number 4, waste his time. Number 6. And they I can't stand that. It's like they just wait. I'd rather them say, no, we're not interested. No problem. That's totally cool. Everybody's different. That's not a problem. But I hate when they go through the motions. But that being said, let me end this on a positive note. I have had several PR guys where we've had really nice relationships, and they've been very kind and want to work with me and get their artists on the show. So,
yeah, cool.
I don't know if it's a US PR thing or I don't know.
I don't know. The companies I'm working with in Australia, they're generally promoting a tour of an international artist. So there's something tangible that they're trying to get the message out about anyway. So my experiences in Australia have been really cool. I have dealt with artists' PR, management, like their full-time management. I'm more often dealing with a PR team that have been assigned to a project. So Dweezil's Apple's coming to Australia, or Tara Lightfoot's touring Australia. Do you want to talk to her? And the PR companies, they get onto the idea that we're a guitar podcast, so we'll do more guitar-centric stuff. So yeah, right. So far it's worked out really cool. Actually, it's been
that's
cool
really good.
End. Yeah.
Do you have guys that have full-time PR people that have you had a chance to deal with them like in this situation?
A little bit, and I get what you're saying. Yeah, often they're juggling a lot of people's schedules or whatever, and it's maybe up to you to chase a little more than them.
Matt, you're so much more diplomatic than I am. I really appreciate you. I'm just such a New York dude. I'm like, these guys are wasting my freaking time. Matt's like, well, they're very busy. They're juggling their schedules. I love you, man. I'm serious.
Hey, man, tell me
character flaw.
I don't know. I like your directness, so it goes both ways. Craig, tell me about your podcast. When did you start? And you had a different start to me, I know, to explain how you're up to episode 119.
So I started this August 31st was the first podcast I dropped of this year. And just to give people a frame of reference when they're listening to this, we're recording this December 27th. So I started it almost 4 months ago, and I've dropped 119 or 120 episodes because a buddy of mine, I know that sounds crazy, but a buddy of mine who owns a podcast, I come out of the business world, so I have a lot of contacts like in business, and one of my buddies owns a podcasting company. He goes, look, if you drop 90 episodes in 90 days, I think that'll give you a good head start. So what do I know? I just listen to people that, I always try to listen to people that are smarter than me and have a knowledge base in an area that I don't. And I said, okay, sure. And I'm a worker. I have a really good work ethic, and I've never had a problem putting out content. And in all the businesses I've owned over the years, at least especially online, I realize that content creation tends to build a head of steam, and that's how you get people to know you, like you, or dislike you, or trust you and enjoy listening to you, or not enjoy listening to you, but you get volume, you get action and build up an audience quick that way. So I said, sure. So that's what I did. We are going to go to, we're really slacking. After the first year, we're going to cut back to 5 episodes a week, Monday through Friday. So, so we're going to cut back. But I've got so many interviews booked and so many cool guests. It's been fun. And basically, to answer the question, what we do is I interview interesting professional guitar players, and I learn about their backstory and, what makes them tick, their highs and lows, the good, the bad, and the ugly about their lives. And it's the kind of conversation I'm going to have with somebody if I just met you in a bar and we're hanging out and I'm trying to get to know you. I'm going to ask them the same questions. I don't, we talk about gear a little bit, but this isn't the show. If you want to know if they use 9s or 10s, this isn't the show for that. But if you want to know what they did when they first moved to Los Angeles or Nashville and, when they were dirt broke, how did they hustle and get business? That's the kind of stuff we'll talk about. So. Yeah,
cool. And you seem to prefer the long format as well, don't you, to really get stuck into things?
Yeah. Cause you can't, I want to hear someone's backstory, and I can't, if I can get that in 15 minutes, that's not a very interesting backstory, So I want to find out what makes them tick. And most people, and they know going into it, one thing I learned from the business end, again, I'm coming on the marketing side, is I want to qualify my prospects.
Okay. Yeah.
So I talk to everybody on the phone for at least, not for 10 minutes. We have a 10-minute call. Once, in the beginning, before anything happens, I want to explain to them what the podcast is about and if it's a fit for them. Because if they're uncomfortable, that's totally cool. Because this is a stress-free, I often tell people, it's kind of like, going to a good therapy session. When you walk out, you feel like, wow, this is a good use of my time and energies. With the exception of I am ill qualified to be anyone's therapist, that's for sure. But I like the long format. I want to talk and I'm not a good guy to talk about the fish on the wall in general. Yeah. I like to get to know somebody, and I have no problem getting them to know me. So it's cool.
Yeah, cool, man. So what do you get out of it? What do you love about it at the end of the day?
In all honesty, it's done a few things for me. First of all, I'm always inspired by people's stories. I'm an underdog sort of guy, and I like to hear about what other people did to accomplish stuff. The second thing is, and this is kind of weird, is that I didn't really develop good interpersonal communication skills till later in life. And I always like to, I consider that not a weak, I think it's a strength of mine now, but at one point in time, it was a weakness. So it allows me to continually work on an area that I was really weak in, and it's rewarding when it works. It's like it validates that, I was not good at doing something, and now I'm a little better at it, and I feel good about that.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. How about you? What do you get out of your show most?
Yeah, it's kind of twofold. I love the conversations just as a standalone moment, so I'll get off a call, and if there's been a good sort of connection, and I always do my homework, so the artists seems like they're usually appreciative if you can talk in detail about their work, of course. So it's almost always a really great conversation. So I just enjoy that for what it is, and if it doesn't get published, that would be okay for me. But so that's the first part. But I guess the second fold issue is actually sharing the episodes, then getting feedback that people have enjoyed them, that they've learned something new, that they've found out about someone they never knew about, or they've heard a bit more about their favorite artist. That's pretty cool too. So the two things I guess go, cool when people, go hand in hand.
When you get off a call, like a really good call, do you like tell your wife, "Man, I just talked to this guy. He was so cool," and she's like, my wife always supports everything but I could just tell sometimes she's like, okay, it's almost like her coming to me and saying, they had BOGO on yogurt at the grocery store. And I'm like, okay, that's great, honey.
Yeah. Not everyone in your world understands what you've just spent the last hour doing, I guess. So
Yeah, right. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And we joke about it with each other, actually.
I just yeah, for sure. Hey, so you talked about marketing and stuff. So you seem like you bring a lot of different skills to the podcast. Did you have a day job as such? It seems like you've got a lot of things you've done.
Yeah. So for the last 18 years, I've owned a marketing company where I will go in and help business owners like build a sales funnel or build a lead generation system, a way for them to attract business or improve on their current business, the way they're attracting it. And what that does is it lowers the cost of acquiring customers and increases revenue generally. And they'll call me. Also, I'll come in to write ad copy for them often.
Okay.
But I published a book in 2009 on marketing and writing ad copy. I published a monthly paid for subscription newsletter for 10 years, ended in 2016. That was about marketing and writing ad copy. I had plenty of subscribers in Australia, actually. It's quite funny.
Okay.
And then I also have like an e-commerce company, and I always have side hustles going on because I'm very fortunate that I've learned a lot in marketing, so it's allowed me to do dip my toe in the water and do different things. So I'm one of these guys. I like being busy. So
okay.
How about you? What was your?
Well, my day job is day job. I'm a music teacher, a school teacher. So teaching music classes to high school age kids, and I love that. So I've been doing that for about 10 years, and that's awesome. That really ties into everything, really. Before that, I was playing guitar, teaching guitar, and I was working at a church as a church music director for about 10 years. Before all that, really... So yeah. Apart from about 3 or 4 years out of school when I was just doing office kind of jobs, I've been doing music related stuff in some way. So I feel blessed.
That's really cool. The here I would say less than 0.5% of schools still have music programs.
I've been hearing that about the States. That's really, I was going to say interesting. It sounds sad to me.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
In Australia, it's mandatory. So for high school, which is my age group, the first 2 years of high school, you have to do 100 hours of music, and then then you get to choose if you're going to continue or not.
That's fantastic. Yeah, here I think church is almost probably 50 to 75% of all the guitar players I interview played in church, or church music was a very important part of their life.
Okay. Yep.
And I think that's where they're working out those muscles now in church, not in. And it's a big business. Like I've met retailers that actively seek church accounts because a church will drop $20,000 on a PA system and a full music whole thing without even thinking about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, for me, I wasn't brought up in church, but I started going when I was around 16 and started playing in the church band. And just from a music perspective, aside from the issues of faith and community and all that other stuff, which is great, playing with other people blew my mind, and working with semi-professional and professional musicians at the church I went to was incredible in terms of being mentored and being shown how it's done. So I feel quite lucky that that's how things fell for me.
A lot of players I just interviewed do you know who Robin Thicke is?
Yeah.
So I interviewed his guitar player a couple of weeks ago, and he's very big in a lot of churches out there in California. Yep. Massive churches, and does a lot of church work. So it's a very common thing nowadays.
Yeah, I loved your interview with Jerry McPherson. He sounded like he was in the same boat.
Jerry's a really good guy. Yeah, I still get. It was funny because his interview was like 3 hours, and at the end of it, he goes, well, Craig, if anybody actually makes it to the end of this, I feel like we should give them something. And I said, okay, give them a free music lesson. He goes, great. Well, I don't know, once every 2-3 weeks, I get an email. I got one today. Hey, I just finished that third interview. How do I get that? How do I claim my music lesson? It was quite funny. He's actually he's interviews one of the most popular ones because he's been in Nashville as an A-list first call guy for probably 30 years.
Yeah, wow.
He's very, very well known there, and he's very successful. His son, Miles McPherson, is a drummer, and Miles is actually voted CMA Country Music Drummer of the Year, I think this year or last year. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree there, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I love that interview. I devoured those 3 interviews in one go. I was doing stuff around the house. I just had the earbuds in and.
Oh, that's cool, man.
I assumed you were joking about the free music lesson, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't hassle you.
Well, I said that and Vince Gill's phone number because the story about Vince Gill is that it was really funny. He said, Vince just checks into a hotel and uses his own name, Vince Gill, and Jerry goes like, Vince, what are you doing? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, you checking under your own name? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, what do you do when people call you? He goes, I talk to them. And I've told that story to honestly 15, 20 guys. And I have not had the good fortune of meeting Vince yet, but I will. But every one of them said that that's just the way he is. He's just the gentlest, sweet, lovely guy. And he's just, that's just him, man. He's just really cool, really unpretentious.
Yeah, nice. And he's just got the Eagles gig, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, what a bunch of talent on that stage.
Yeah. Hey, Craig, what's your guitar story? Like, I can see a bunch of sweet looking guitars in the Skype video here. What's your background in guitar?
Man, I was a musician as a kid. I played saxophone. I've had over the years, 1 or 2 failed attempts at starting to play guitar. I don't know why. I've always been head over heels passionate about it, about guitar music. And finally, 2 years ago, I'm 54, and when you hit 50, you start thinking about, or I did anyway, about just having more fun. Like your mortality is kind of, not to be morbid because I don't actively think of that, but if there's a time, now is the time. And so I said I'm going to start playing guitar. So I did. I started playing 2 years ago, and I play almost every day, and I love it. It's done wonders for me. I'm a really driven person, and to the point where I have not and really didn't do a good job of being in the present. And playing guitar has changed all that because, Matt, when you're playing, you can't think about, some disagreement you have with a student earlier this week, or, the new principal that's coming in here next week, right? You got to be right there playing, and that's it. And in doing that, it felt so liberating and free to me that, oddly enough, I literally have done that in every area of my life. Wow. Where I'm here now. Okay. And it's really been so, real special to me. And I've enjoyed my life more, my children more. And I'm really grateful for that. So that guitar you're looking at, that's a 335. I bought that in Nashville about a month and a half ago. I haven't played anything since, and I don't I've got a Les Paul, a couple of Strats, an SG, and a Tele, but that 335, I've always wanted that. I've always been infatuated with Freddie King and his tone.
Yeah, nice.
For some reason, I don't sound like Freddie, Matt. Go figure. But I just love that guitar.
Yeah.
So, how about you? What's your guitar journey been like? So you've been playing a long time.
Yeah. So I started, I was around 11. There was a guitar around the house, but no one really played it. And it was through school. It was through high school. We had a music program. Funny, we were talking about that before, and we had some lessons, and I loved it. I just loved it. I wasn't very good, but I loved it, and just hung in there. So after a couple of years of playing, Happy Birthday and Jingle Bells, started getting into some rock playing. My older brother had a really great record collection, so he's 6 years older than me, and he was always playing stuff like AC/DC, lots of rock, but other stuff too. He's into Elton John and The Police and The Cure. So
great music.
Yeah, so I was hearing a lot of stuff. I was hearing like the really obvious guitar stuff, the AC/DC stuff. Like he would show me stuff. He'd say, "Listen to this," and then there was the the more atmospheric guitar stuff was I guess sinking into my head somehow as well. So yeah, got into it. Like I said, playing at church became a really big thing, a big musical influence, and then started playing functions and clubs and weddings and all that kind of stuff. So I still do all of that stuff today. I still love it.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
So have you met a lot of people, I'd imagine, through playing guitar?
Yeah, I mean, I met my wife. We were both in the church.
Did you really? That is so cool.
We're both in the youth band. She was the singer, I was the guitar player, and we were just friends for a long time. And so yeah, that's probably the biggest.
That's awesome. How long have you guys been together?
Been married 23 years.
Awesome, man. Congratulations.
Yeah,
good for you.
Thank you.
That's real nice to hear.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
So
that's great.
Yeah, so through music, that's the biggest name drop I've got, you know.
Hey, that's important, man. That's the best one you can have. That's great, man. It's really nice to hear that.
But
well, this is really fun. I know a guy from the gym, and we were talking one day, and he plays keyboards, and we got together a couple of times and played. Next thing I know, he's telling me, he goes, "Look, I'm getting married. I want you to play at my wedding." And I'm like, I thought he was joking. I'm like, I didn't even really like. I said, "Okay, yeah." And he goes, "No, I'm serious." And I'm like, and I was kind of not really sure why. I mean, I'm an average guitar player, but he said, "Look, there's one song I want to play, and I want to. My wife's gonna walk down, and me, you, and a drummer will play it. So it's really cool. I've been practicing, and it's my first time really playing with other people, and it's like it's a bit of an addiction. I'm gonna be really disappointed when like this wedding thing goes away and I have nothing left to do. I'm gonna try to have to find someone else to play with."
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, that's one of the just the wonderful things about music. You know, you get a few people together. You all play your little part, and somehow it all sticks together, and makes this bigger thing. I love that. I've always loved that.
Well, and it feels so good.
Yeah.
But you're right, because this is truly a thing where the sum of the parts really are greater than the whole.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, again, not having, but just being all relatively new to me. Like I'm playing my thing, and I don't. It's just my little part, and the keyboard and the drums and all that. But the whole thing is like, wow, this sounds much more powerful than I would have thought. You know, which is really cool, very cool.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing. I had an interesting gig a few weeks ago. It was just a covers band thing. I was filling in for a guitar player, but what I found out closer to the gig, it's a 6-piece band.
Good sized band.
Yeah, it was 2 singers, guitar, bass, drums, keys. I think that's it. But what I found out close to the gig, only the drummer was an original member of the band. Everyone else was a sub.
Holy crap, that's really funny. What happened? Just like off week or something?
Yeah, I think so. I think just lots of people booked elsewhere. I don't know. But I took the gig. It was fine. But it was awesome because the musicians, they were good players, and it's all repertoire everyone knows. So it's not.
Yeah.
I had to learn maybe 3 or 4 songs out of 4 sets. So I knew, you know, like the other guys, we've all played those songs. But what the fun was everyone was probably a little bit more on their toes because it wasn't the same people. It wasn't the same arrangements even, so you're just listening to one another. But it was a great gig because, you know, good players, listening and watching out was awesome. It's your own little community on stage there. So it ended up being a great gig. Loved it. So
that's awesome, man. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm hope to look forward to do more stuff like that once this little thing is over.
Yeah, do it, man. What do you like to listen to? What's your thing?
You know, I have any good guitar stuff pretty much, but I'm mostly blues pentatonic rooted kind of guy. Like I listen to a lot of old school blues, you know, Mike Bloomfield, Freddie King,
right.
Stuff along those lines. But I also listen to David Gilmour, Jeff Beck, and a lot of stoner rock, as I was telling you, out of the Netherlands. But the kind of stuff I listen to seems to be, if not pentatonic based, but just that, you know, very soulful. I'm not into shredding kind of stuff. I could appreciate it. Like I interviewed somebody named Bill Linero, and he's a great player, and his album just came out, and it's like top 50 albums of the last 50 years, I think.
Wow.
And it's like he's ripping it. I interviewed Jennifer Batten, who's obviously an amazing guitar player. I'm not, I can appreciate the music for the talent, but the stuff that makes me like, really feel something tends to be blues sort of based.
Mm-hmm.
How about yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of changed over the years. Or it's developed, I guess. I've still got that AC/DC, that very primal rock and roll thing. If I ever get to play any stuff like that, I love it. So I think that early stuff kind of sticks with you. But I think I just guess as I got older, my ears got a little bit bigger. Being around different players, got into funk and jazz stuff. In my later teens, really a big thing in more recent years was when I wanted to go into full-time music teaching. I had to get a music degree, even though I'd been playing for a bunch of years. I was very much a self-taught musician. So yeah, at the age of I was 30 or 31, went off to university and heard lots of great stuff. So the university I went to had a lot of emphasis on 20th century classical music. So it's basically the weird stuff when composers got sick of trying to retread Bach or Beethoven or Mozart, they started getting a little kooky. So incorporating a lot of chromatic ideas or just strange ensembles. So yeah, I got into a lot of contemporary classical then, stuff like Steve Reich and I guess pop music that had been influenced by that stuff. So when you say stoner rock, I was probably listening to a lot of post rock, which is not dissimilar. Some of these like long form kind of rock tunes with lots of textures and
like what, like the Who, like a long rock opera.
Kind of bands like Sigur Rós is maybe the most commercially known one. Radiohead was huge around then, sort of the 2005s. Yeah. So stuff that kind of took off from there, I guess. Godspeed You Black Emperor is this kind of post-apocalyptic post-rock band from Canada. I was listening to a lot of that stuff.
What's it called? Godspeed
You Black Emperor.
Godspeed You Black Emperor. Wow. Okay.
It's it's just intense. It's just everything's intense.
It's amazing. Do you ever feel like I often feel when I was younger, I had my hands around the music scene, all the music that was out there, and I have no clue, relative to the music that's out there. I don't know anything, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I think we're all there. I think you bump into what you bump into, but there's always so much more. Well, when you talk about blues guys, I thought AC/DC was heavy rock, but as I got a little older, I understood, they're just like Chuck Berry supercharged or something.
Yeah, that's what I always call them, Chuck Berry with distortion pedals.
Pretty much. Yeah. So, for me, then I went backwards. Okay, who are the blues guys? So that's how I sort of got into blues a little bit backwards through rock. But it's all connected somewhere, and that's what I find fascinating.
It really is fascinating to figure out where came from where. And what are you playing out of? What's your guitars of choice?
Okay, so I've got my main electric. I'm mainly an electric player. My main electric is a parts caster, essentially. It's a Strat style guitar. I got it. I've had it for over 20 years, and I've just eventually.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a bit of a mess. I call it the Matocaster, because it's essentially a Stratocaster. It's a Warmoth neck, which had no name on it when I bought it through Warmoth. They just have a blank headstock. So people would say, "What's that guitar?" So eventually I put a sticker Matocaster on that. So that's that. It's got a Seymour Duncan single coil pickup in the neck. It's got a Damasio humbucker in the bridge, and it's just like an old pair of shoes. It's just this old beaten up guitar, which
it's great though.
Yeah, I love it. I always come back to it. So that's the number one. And I've got 6 or 7 guitars. I don't have a huge collection, but the second one, which I really love, I had built 3 years ago. It's the only custom guitar I've ever had built. It's a Pat Keegan Telemaster. So Pat Keegan's a lovely guy from sort of the mid-south coast of New South Wales on the east coast of Australia, and builds these beautiful kind of vintagey style guitars, very much Telecaster or Jazzmaster influence. So mine's sort of like a cross between a Fender Jazzmaster body and a Fender Telecaster. So that's a cool guitar.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I really like that guitar too. So between those two, they're the ones I'll play out most.
That's really cool. I've heard so many people that I've interviewed have a parts caster with a Warmoth neck.
Okay.
So you're not, and and we are a member of the same forums, I think, on some of the Facebook groups. I've seen you post.
I see you. Yeah.
And I see people posting, they love, a lot of people with Warmoth, they love the Warmoth neck. So, I mean, there's something to that, obviously.
Yeah, they're a cool company.
Where are they out of?
Oh, they're in the States. Is it California? They might be West Coast.
Let's look right now. Warmoth Guitars, Warmouth.
Yeah. While you're looking, I mean, to get one in Australia in 92 or 93, whenever I got it, you had to order it through. There was only one distributor in Australia. That was a shop called Pro Audio. Sorry.
Oh wow.
So they were in Canberra, which is, a few hundred kilometers from where I live. So you would ring them or send them a letter explaining what you wanted. They would then get in touch with Warmoth. So it took a few months. It was this big round trip, but yeah, it's just the neck that kind of fits my hand now.
They got actually a pretty extensive website here. They're doing a lot of stuff, but they are out of a place called, I don't know how to pronounce this, Puyallup, Puyallup, Puyallup.
Okay.
I don't know how you pronounce it. Puyallup, Washington. It's Washington State, so it's just
Washington
north.
State, so up north.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the northwesternmost state in the country.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Gotcha. So I guess it's pretty cold up there. Not much else to do but build guitars and.
Oh, it's cold up there. Yeah, it's beautiful up there. It's actually, I was there coming from Florida where everything's incredibly flat. We were, my family and I vacationed there about, I don't know, 8 years ago maybe. It's literally maybe one of the most breathtakingly beautiful places I've ever been. Awesome. It's really pretty. Yeah, really spectacular. So.
Hey, I've heard you say on your show you're going to head to Nashville for the is it the Summer NAMM or the Winter NAMM?
I went up there on vacation. Yeah, no, it's actually Summer NAMM. Winter NAMM is in I think it's Anaheim, California. That's going on
that's a couple of days.
Couple of weeks, yeah, something like that. Next week or the week after. But I'll probably be at Nashville for Summer NAMM. What happened was I went there for vacation. The nature of these interviews that I do, they're pretty personal. So I've been very fortunate. I get to connect with a lot of different people. And I find musicians in general are, again, spending, I've been working for myself for 20 years. And the business world, people are not as open and willing to be as vulnerable emotionally as artists are. And so I used to interview people once a month when I published my newsletter. Mm-hmm. And some of it was me. I didn't ask the same questions, but people just tended to be more business-ish.
Okay.
But a lot of the people I've interviewed are just wonderful people, and we have a really nice connection. So I had not had a vacation this year, and my wife and I both, she's a realtor, so she works for herself. And so we both were like, hey, let's just go away for a few days. So I went up to Nashville. I drove up there from Tampa, which I never did a drive that long on my own, just 10 hours, but it was, I just listened. It was great, man. I listened to music for 10 hours.
Yeah. Nice.
I mean, I hadn't done that. I can't remember the last time I got to do something like that. So I just smoked cigars and listened to music for 10 hours straight. And my wife was like, hey, get all your guitar stuff, out of your system the first few days, and then I'll fly up. And I was like, great, that'd be awesome. So that's exactly what I did. So, it was nice. I got to hang out with a lot of the guys that I interviewed, had a couple of drinks, just very relaxing. And then my wife came up and we got to have a good time, and it was cool.
Nice, man. Very cool.
So, yeah, I hope to be going back to Summer NAMM.
Okay.
Yeah, but that'll be in 2018, whatever that is, summertime,
Sort
June
of
or July.
mid-year for you guys, yeah.
Yeah, mid-year for us. So
Gotcha. And will you do any like podcast kind of stuff there?
probably not. I don't think so. I mean, I'll go up there and maybe network, but I'm really when I'm off, I'm off. I don't want to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really, I don't know if it's good but when I work so hard that when I stop, it's like a train going from 100 miles an hour to zero. I just like collapse, man. I just need to do nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm dropping back the podcast to just 5 days a week, because I'm like, I need to relax more. I need
sure.
to just have more fun with this. And it's going to be interesting to see the numbers. I have a funny feeling that it won't be impacted, or they may even go up actually.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't know about you, but you get addicted to looking at those numbers.
Yeah.
And how many listens you have, and I noticed that happening, and I'm like, okay, I need to back off, because anytime if something else is like taking over me, which does not happen often, and I don't like that. I don't like to be a slave to anything. That's kind of why I work for myself, but I don't. Even something that I've made myself. So I've created this obsession looking at the numbers. So I need to just, drop, self correction or whatever.
Yeah, sure. Something sprung to mind when you were talking about that. Oh yeah. I guess the other thing with being at NAMM, for this kind of personal interviews you like to do, probably a trade show is not the ideal forum for that anyway.
Right. But I'll have my business card.
Yeah, nice.
And it's kind of cool because like now I'll call someone, or I'll get referred to someone, and I'll call them, and I'm like, oh man, I love your show. And I'm like, it's kind of funny. Like the first time that happened, I don't know if it happened to you. It's like, you see the numbers getting bigger, but you don't, this is empty. I mean, it's not tangible. You can't you don't know who's listening. So when someone says, oh, so people actually listen to this thing.
Yeah, it's like almost a surprise. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh, that's cool.
You really
so yeah, it's nice now, and I'll approach people and I could say to them, oh, you've played with this one. I've interviewed, these 12 people already. So it's like, it's good street. That's another thing that cranking out all these episodes has done. It's like built up some decent street cred.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're saying off air. I'm sure. We've been talking for so long. I can't remember what we said before I hit red, but yeah. Once you get a few people who are known on your show, obviously that helps build momentum as well. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've pulled some great players already in the few months you've been going. That's so good.
Thanks. Yeah, I've done a lot of side hustles over the last 20 years, but I have to honestly say none of them have grown as organically as this. None of them. I mean, I've done a lot of projects, but this is just like, that's why I want to monetize this thing, because I'm exactly where the universe is telling me I'm exactly where I need to be. So I have to, take this all the way.
Yeah. So when you say monetize, what sort of plans have you got?
Well, we're going to have a bunch of different things. I don't want to say now, because I'm the kind of guy, I don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Yep. So I don't want to talk about stuff until I come from a marketing background. So everything is a test. And that's just the way you're trained. Anything you do is a test. Some of it may work, some of it may not work. But I know that if you put enough stuff out there, something's going to happen. I've already been approached by, artists to help them put projects together. So I think some things like that are going to happen. I'm going to probably look to do the same marketing consulting I normally do, but in the music industry.
Yeah, cool.
Stuff along those lines. But I will be selling some products too. And, again, it's not that I'm like hiding anything. I'd rather just wait till it's out there, then I could talk about it, because I'm not 100% sure which direction I'm going to go in myself.
Sure. Yeah.
But by the time this comes out, something should be up on the website.
Yeah, cool. Well, you got the background, the skills, obviously, to draw on that. Do you find well, one thing I'm really fascinated with is the business side of things for the people I talk to, because I'm not in business myself. I run a small business, I guess, as a part-time, semi-professional musician, but I'm always fascinated by the jumps, that the leap of faith that people make. When did they go full-time into music? Or, they've been building pedals. When did they decide, okay, we're going to go all out with this? Did you see any links between the people you talk to, like the musicians you interview, and some of the business background that you have in terms of them running a small business themselves?
Yes, it's identical. This is a small business, and they have the same problems most small businesses do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I'm contemplating offering is actually some sort of like a group consulting where musicians or whoever, artists or whoever can pay a fee, and we can have like a monthly open Q&A phone call, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But because I think there's a big need for that based on all the guys I've spoken to. And look, most small business owners, they have the number one problem is marketing and selling.
Okay.
How do you get your more services? How do you get more leads? How do you communicate with them? How do you take your product and expand your catalog? How do you get more money out of it? So I see this every day, everyone I speak to, they are all running a small business.
Yeah.
And most of these, not unlike small businesses, most of them, if not all of them, and all more so in music, have never been educated on any aspect of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like even basic things. I was shocked nobody is incorporated.
Okay.
Now, I've asked them why, and some of them said, well, one of the things you get is liability protection. But they're like, what am I going to get sued for? Playing a bad note? No, you're not going to get sued for that. But there's also certain tax. You get a lot more liberal tax deductions as a small business owner with no ceiling underneath that you have to do X amount of dollars before. It's just a lot of business benefits that you would get to that. And you can set up retirement plans inside of a business. You can't do that individually. Mm-hmm. So, and I got out of, I don't do this for a living, nor would I pretend to, but when I graduated college, I was a CPA, which is like a chartered accountant over there, I think.
Yeah.
So I did that for like 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, I have and then I had another business where I was doing financial planning. So I've grown up, I've had a pretty good business seasoning. But yeah, it's very much that way. And that's why I really give these guys all a lot of credit, because they're going out there every day running a business, and they don't even, they're running without a net for the most part.
Yeah, right.
So that's a good question, actually.
Cool. What are you doing when you're not podcasting or marketing or hustling?
I like to work out.
Yeah.
A lot. I've been with my wife 25 years. We got a great relationship. I like spending time with her.
Yeah.
We're on the 10-yard line now. Our last kid is almost out of the house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's 17, and she's welcome to stay as long as she wants. We made it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's cool.
2 other kids. I have a granddaughter. So, I like working out, playing music, photography, spending time with my wife, traveling. I like smoking cigars and coffee. I'm not like a big partier, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll have a drink once in a while, but I'm not, this is not really my thing. Sure. I just like to meet people and learn about them. How about yourself? What are your hobbies?
Well, yeah, it's funny. I mean, I sort of see this podcast as an elaborate hobby, at least. That I do, because I got my day job. I'm playing gigs. I've got my family. I've got my wife and 2 kids. So that's full time already. So yeah. I love putting the podcast together. That's been a lot of fun this last year and a half or so. But outside of that, I ride a bike. I've just gotten into bike riding the last few years. But all back into it since being a kid, trying to keep a bit fit, and that's been a lot of fun. Loving that.
Do you do that with your wife or alone?
Oh, mostly alone, but sometimes we'll go as a family. Yep. So it's good. There's some nice bike tracks around here where I live. So that's cool. That's cool. That's me, like reading. when I get time. Do a bit of writing here or there.
You know, it's funny. I was such a big reader. I mean, I read a book a month for probably like 18 years. And then once I started playing guitar, I stopped altogether. I think I've read maybe 3 books in the last 2 years. I just, you know, like you just said, it's full. You can only do so much, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's just hard to you know, fit enough hours into the day sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And man, if you got the guitar bug, I'd say run with it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather put my time on that. I'm like, I was talking to my son about that when I first started playing. I said, Nick, I feel bad. I'm not reading. His dad, look, you've read enough books. Take your time off. I was like, okay, thank you. Sometimes, you know, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes you need permission to do something, even if you don't need permission to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So it's funny. There's a bike race that I did once with my son, and I'm thinking about doing it with my wife. It's called it's a 40-mile bike. They call it a race. It's not a race, but they basically shut down major arteries in New York City. Okay. Cool. And you bike ride 40 miles, and there's 5 boroughs, like provinces, I guess, kind of in the city, and you go to each one, and it's a 40-mile race. And at the end, you go over I think it's the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. It's like it's supposedly the biggest angle ascension bridge in the country, and man, my legs were so I had to get up. I got up halfway, and I had to walk the other half until I got to the peak. But it's a really cool race, man.
Oh man, full on. That's cool, man. I'm such a slow coach. I just dawdle. I just stroll along.
So do we. Yeah.
I get overtaken by the guys in the Lycra who are who are, you know, fully engaged. But yeah,
it's funny. I got into bike riding like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, and I would call around and find out, you know, hey, do you guys, you know, there's like a lot of clubs, but like the minimum speed they're doing is 20 miles an hour, which that's like, if you just start, that's like, that's way too quick for me. I was like, I was pressing it at 13, you know, I was like,
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but bike riding is fun, man.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, podcasts. Like you're obviously running one. We're running one. Do you listen to many?
I don't listen to many because of my time, but I'll tell you what and the ones I do listen to are all about marketing and making money, which is terrible. But it is what it is. I listen to, there's a really good one called Side Hustle. They're like 6 to 8 minute episodes each. I listen to Indie Hackers, which is another kind of a side hustle thing. I listen to Tube Buddy Express, which is about making money on YouTube. You know, I guess I've replaced my business education. I do listen to Mark Maron's podcast once in a while. I don't know if you know him.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I listen to that sometimes. That's cool.
Yeah.
He gets some good musicians on too. Like
he does.
Yeah.
He plays guitar, I think. So yeah. I think that's his thing.
Yeah.
I think I've replaced my business education and reading through podcasting. You know, but how about you?
Yeah, I guess the gateway for me wanting to start the podcast was being a fan in the first place, I guess. So I've like you said, you know, I like people's stories, that sort of thing. So I'd listen to stuff like This American Life. There's an Australian one called Conversations, which is great. So that kind of stuff. And then even though music was you know, such a big focus, I got more into biographical stuff first. But yeah, eventually started listening to some more music and guitar related ones too. Jude Gold's podcast is great.
Yeah, I've listened to that. It is really good.
He's fantastic. He's a brilliant guitar player in his own right. I spoke to him about this time last year, which was awesome for my show. Amps and Axes is great. Those guys are consistently really good. They've been going for over 200 episodes, you know, week by week. Which, of course, you'll eclipse by March or something, but still.
Well, you know what? I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I'll have, like, by the end of this year, let's see, I don't know. By March, I will have 100. No, I'll just hit 170 in March. I'll probably hit I don't know, whatever. I'll probably hit 200, it looks like, in May.
Yeah, cool.
Or
I feel
April.
like I should say, though, that I haven't listened to all 119, but whenever I've listened to your show, they've been great. So it's not as if you just
Thanks.
cookie cutter, just getting them out there to get the numbers on the board. They're actually great
No,
episodes, and you obviously take a lot of care
thank you.
in presenting
No,
them and being thoughtful.
thanks. That really means a lot to me. I have a really good work ethic. That I'm not like a guy that brags, but I'm really proud of my work ethic. And I think work ethic's one of those things that is really important definition of your character.
Absolutely.
And I think how you do one thing is how you do everything. I mean, if you you either have a good work ethic and you have that in everything you do, or you don't.
Yeah.
It's like being pregnant. Like I said earlier, I think it's you either are or you're not.
Or you're not.
Yeah, I really do work hard, and I've always been that way. I mean, I was when I've published marketing programs, and I always it was really important to me that I have I have good pride of ownership, and I would never ever in a million years turn anything out in any business or hobby that wasn't. I'm not saying it's great, but that haven't given 110%.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's yeah, I'm pretty intense if you haven't noticed. And I'm actually 10 times more chilled out than I've ever been. So
Wow, that's awesome. That's cool.
yeah.
Hey, it's fun talking to you because I just get the feeling that we are from totally opposite sides of, well, not only the world, but just I don't know. We just the opposites attract things. I love talking to the super driven people. Not that I'm not driven, but there's just different levels and
No, I totally get it, and I'm the same. I totally get it. You're in this, and you're doing it just as a hobby, whereas me, I'm taking this into the business world because that's all I know.
Yeah.
Sure. That's what I know. I don't know that I could do some outside of playing guitar. Quite frankly, I don't know that I could do something. No, that's not true because I take pictures into photography. Yeah, I don't know. I just something that takes this much. I'm the kind of person though, like if I could do this as a hobby if I did it like you did, once a week, twice a month.
Yeah.
But this was something that it was really weird, Matt. I almost felt like I had a calling to do this. I've never felt like that about anything I've done in my life outside of when I learned how to write ad copy. There was something about that too. But there's been a few things that have just been like that. And this is one of them.
Yeah. Awesome.
This is, and I just get really good feedback from the people I interview. And
yeah, fantastic.
You know what that's like isn't it rewarding when you put together an interview and the other person says, "Hey man, I really appreciate that."
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, it's nice to know that your hard work was that there's a good experience in it for, I don't know about you. I always feel I have two quote customers. One is the listener and one is the interviewee.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I want to make sure that both of them have a really good experience. So I do, whatever I can to make that happen.
Yeah, cool. That is great.
And I'll tell you one thing I did though, that I had to, I interviewed a guy named not Jimmy Wallace. Why am I having a brain fart now? David Wallace. And David was in the Las Vegas, the shooting they had there, literally right in the thick of it.
Okay.
And his interview was scheduled for that day, and he said, and I said, "How you doing?" And he was like, "Man, this is a week after, 3, 4, 5 days after it happened." And I said, "How you doing?" He goes, "Man, I was just in Vegas." I'm like, "Holy shit, you're kidding me." And I could just tell, he wanted to tell his story. And I said, "Hey, listen," and we started talking. I said, "Would you like to do, this podcast just about your story there? And then we could do your regular one, reschedule in a couple of weeks." He goes, "Yeah, I'd really like to do that."
Yeah,
and I felt really good because I'm kind of good with people and I have a sixth sense sometimes. And I just felt like, man, he really needed to unload that. And I went out of my way to make sure that anything we discussed, that I didn't sensationalize it. You know what I mean? I went out of my way to make sure I would not approach this like some, overzealous journalist trying to get a hot scoop, because I was really empathetic about what he had just gone through. And I didn't, and had I asked certain questions, I probably could have, I just felt good helping the guy out, and even most of my people don't listen to their episodes. And I said, hey, listen, why don't you and your wife listen to this? Make sure you're good with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, we don't. I said, no, just go on it. Because, when you have an emotional thing like that, you're more apt to say something and then later say, oh, maybe I need to cut it. I shouldn't have said that. So I didn't want him to have any like buyer's remorse, so to speak.
Yeah. Cool.
So that was really, I felt good about that, because I think I felt like I helped him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so, that's awesome.
But yeah, I'm just like a type A. And like I said, Matt, I've never been more mellow in my life. I'm so
That's cool, man. That's really cool. Man, I'm so into the podcast too. I would love to do more, but I just had to reconcile. Not at the first even. It took me a while into it. I'm not going to be able to do every interview, which bums me out. But there'll be an opportunity. I've got my day job. I've got something else I'm doing. I can't catch that artist when they're available or whatever. So So I'm sort of at maximum capacity, but it's just a slow pace. But still enjoying it all the same.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm at maximum capacity now. I don't know, like I've got some pretty heavy guys coming on, and I'm like, I have a list of people I cannot call for at least 30 to 60 days.
Uh-huh.
Just because, I can't say, hey, you want to come on my show? Okay, how's April? Like, what? It's just like, it's like booking a dentist appointment 3 years in advance.
Yeah.
What?
That's cool. That's a good problem. Sure.
No, I'm grateful. Believe me, I am very grateful for that. That's a great problem. That's why I'm saying I've never done a project that's like exploded like this.
Yeah, cool. Oh.
So, I'm going to see this through and figure out what my role in the universe is supposed to be with it. So
cool, man. That's awesome.
So, hey, I want to ask you one question.
Yep.
And then I'll answer it if you want as well.
Yeah.
I just started asking this question. I think it's a good question. And if you don't want to answer this, totally cool. What has been your biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years? And how old are you, if you're okay?
Yeah, no, I'm 46, so okay. I'm not far behind you. Okay. I reckon, just thinking through it, I think for my 30s, I seem to enjoy my 30s more than my 20s, so I felt like I was getting to know myself a bit more. Now, the challenge is when you start being a bit more comfortable in your own skin is not getting set in your ways. So I'm not really answering your question, but I feel like last 10 years, I feel like I know who I am more. I think I feel more confident in being me. I feel like more confident in making decisions and following them through, or not making decisions, or deciding not to do certain things. I think as a younger person, I try to please a lot of people. So I've probably moved away from that.
Good for you.
Yeah, I've got...
That's great.
I have twin daughters. They're 12 years old, so that's been a big part of the 10 years as well. So
sure.
So that's changed who I am as well in a good way.
Yeah. That's great, man.
How does that work for you?
I'd say the biggest change in my personality over the last 10 years is, probably a few things. Number one, as I said, I'm much, much more mellow. I was really high strung, and I would like overreact to stuff in general. And I'd never do that at all anymore. I am like, it's actually scary. I'm like the calm one in the house now. Everybody's like, what the hell? The other thing is I had a very rough upbringing, very difficult, and I've become comfortable being nice. I've realized that there's a difference between kindness and weakness, and being kind does not imply being weak. And that was overwhelmingly difficult for me to learn because of my background.
Okay.
That it, and I get a lot of joy out of being nice now, and I'm not worried about opening myself up and being vulnerable, because it's not going to, it's, you know, it's a big world. There are good people and there are bad people. You're going to get hurt sometimes. I don't take anything personal. And really, my wife and kids are the most important things to me. Is somebody going to do anything that's going to hurt me? Probably not. Not, you know, I mean, unless it's them. So I learned how to, I got nicer because I realized it's okay to be nice, and that's it, you know, which is like, sounds ridiculous, but it was new for me. Not that I was a bad person ever. I was never like but I was guarded, very guarded.
Yeah.
Very,
Okay.
you know, very much like had a wall around me, and, you know, you're not coming in. And I'm not like that at all anymore. I'm totally good with it. And to some extent, again, doing this helps. It's like I'm in recovery almost, you know, in a sense. Doing this helps keep me in touch with, you know, being nice on a, you know, I'm interviewing sometimes 2-3 people a day.
Okay.
And I can engage at an intimate level. And even though, look, I'm not in any delusional, this isn't like deep friendships long term, because friendships come over repeated contact.
Yeah.
And for the most part, you know, outside of maybe some exposure on Facebook, we're not having repeated contact.
Yeah.
So I don't want people sitting there thinking, oh, this guy's loony, because I'm not. I understand what happens here, but it's good for me to have nice interactions with people. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know? So that's yeah. Sorry about that. I'm done.
Oh man, that's huge. That's a huge thing when you talk about being brought up and how that leads to how you respond to things and how you live your life. That's a huge thing. You know, being a school teacher, the hard thing is not teaching the content, because I know the content that I'm trying to teach. The hard thing is finding where everyone's at and how I can best share that. And what you're talking about is a similar thing. You know, your background shapes you for good or for worse. And you know, some people can move beyond that, some people can't. And you know, if you have done that, that's fantastic. That's such a huge thing.
Yeah, and it's been something that's really important to me, because I just felt like, A, I'm not getting the most out of my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And B, the people I'm around aren't getting the most out of me. So I'm depriving them, my wife and my kids. I'm depriving me. And again, I'm probably making this sound worse than it is. I'm not like I'm a tough guy. I don't yell. I don't. But I was just, you know, not open. You know, and I like being the way I am now. It's easier, less stress.
Yeah, awesome.
And I don't take anything personally either anymore. You know, I used to take everything like, you know, if something happened, like, oh, I think someone's out to screw you. That's not true. No one, you know, no one's going to bed thinking of Craig Garber. I'm fully aware of that. So, you know, I just, and I like me a lot better because of that.
Yeah, that's incredibly freeing.
Yeah, it is incredibly freeing. The amount of less stress in my life is like, and it was all stress I was putting on myself.
That's cool, man.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just listened to your interview with Mason from Vertex Effects the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And, man, I loved it. I loved hearing the story. I mean, I know of his story. I've heard him speak in recent years anyway. But, you know, when you gave him the opportunity, if he wanted to or not, talk about the wah pedal situation, the way you responded to him was with such grace. I just thought that was awesome. I thought, you know, if I was having that conversation, that's how I would have hoped to have responded. And
well, thanks,
yeah,
man.
it's just, I thought, you know what, that's awesome. That's
well,
grace.
I mean, he was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like I said to him, I have kids My son's 27, my other son's 25. They might have handled that situation the same way because they have no coping skills for that.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he's got a business at that age that's taken off like that, man, my hat's off to him.
Yeah.
Now here's an opportunity for you to learn.
Yeah.
And like all of us, tuition costs money or costs something. If not money, it costs pain, emotional lessons, humiliation, whatever. But you learn and you move on. What do you do? Hang a guy on the cross? Come on. I mean, he just made a mistake. He owned up. I mean, unless he was lying to me, I don't know the story. I take people on face value. He said he gave everybody a refund or the opportunity. I mean, okay, that sounds pretty fair to me. I mean,
yeah.
And then he said that people don't like the fact that he's making money. Well, they're obviously not running a business, because when you run a business, that's why you run a business, to earn money. I mean, newsflash, so, and whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
But thanks. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. See, like hearing that is good, because I'm, that I appreciate your comments on that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Enjoyed the interview. So happy to pass it on back to you, man.
Yeah,
for
man,
sure.
thank you.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Nice. Hey, it's been good talking.
Likewise, man. I want all my listeners to listen to Matt Wakeling's show. It is, and you tell them where it's called, Guitar Speak Podcast, out of Sydney, Australia. Where can they find the show and you?
Okay, yeah, thanks. Guitar Speak Podcast, we're on Apple Podcasts, or formerly called iTunes Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio. Pretty much whatever podcast player you play, if you put our name in there, Guitar Speak Podcast, you're likely to find us. We've also got a blog page, guitarspeakpodcast.libsyn, that's LYBSON.com, and all of our episodes are there as well. So that's pretty much it. We're on Facebook and Instagram. You want to come and say hi? But yeah, that's us. How about you, Craig? Because I know you're running a website as well as the podcast places.
Yes, it's called Everyone Loves Guitar, and you can find us at everyonelovesguitar.com or facebook.com/Everyone Loves Guitar.
Mm-hmm.
We are also on Instagram, and we have no posts there.
Yeah.
But I just found this software program today called Flume, Flume, and supposedly it's an app that will let me post stuff on there, but I have to dig into that. And we're on Twitter just look for Everyone Loves Guitar.
Yeah,
nice. But we're the same as you. Wherever podcasts are distributed, you could listen to us. And by all means, man, give me feedback. I really, like I said, I think I have two quote customers, is the interviewee and the listener. And if there's something you feel I could be doing better at, don't hesitate to email me at craig@everyonelovesguitar.com, or we have a contact form on the webpage at everyonelovesguitar.com, or whatever. Instagram, apparently Instagram and Twitter, you can communicate too.
You can.
I have to delve into that world. Now I'm showing my age. I have to get one of my kids to give me the tuition. Give me actually, you know what? One of my guys that I interviewed, that we haven't even interviewed him yet, but we just spoke a couple of times. Really nice, really, really nice guy. And it's Tico Hernandez. Everybody check him out. He's a guitar player for Lauren Alaina, Alaina. So Tico sends me a text one night, and he says, "Hey, Craig," it was 11 o'clock Eastern. So I was up. I think I was just finishing some work, actually, or I usually go to bed, but that night I happened to be awake. Or usually I'm in bed with my wife that time, but that night I happened to be awake. And he says, "Craig, I'm really sorry to bother you, but I can't go to sleep until I get this off my chest." And I said, "Hey, what's up, man?" He goes, "Make sure you go to Instagram and Twitter and take the names for your show, even if you're not going to use them." I'm like, "Man, that was so kind of you to tell me that, man." I was really moved that he like that. And I said, I said, "Man, I'm going to do it right now." And I took him. And so thank you, Tico, shout out to Tico Hernandez for letting me, or helping me, pushing me to set up the Instagram and Twitter, the dinosaur I am. So yeah, you could find me on there somehow.
That's awesome.
And let me know anything I could do to improve the show, please.
Oh, that's cool.
But let me know privately, not in a public forum.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No. Matt, man, I really enjoy you. I enjoy your show, and thank you for your time. This was fun.
Yeah, same here, Craig. Thank you so much. Awesome.
All righty.
All right, there you go. There's my conversation with Craig Garber of Everyone Loves Guitar. Please check out Craig's show. It's really great, and he's continually pulling great guests in, so definitely worth checking out. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Now, remember, you can connect with us here at Guitar Speak Podcast on Instagram or Facebook. On Facebook, we have also started the Guitar Speak Forum, which is a closed group. You can ask to be invited, and we would love to have you to talk about the episodes or any kind of guitar-related stuff. That's a really good hang, that group page there. Okay then, well, I'm out of here. My name's Matt Wakeling. Thank you so much again for joining me here at the Guitar Speak Podcast, and I'll catch you next time. Bye now.